We are live. This is Matt. This is Mags. It is the day after Boxing Day, which means we got some football to talk about. Decimation and yet devastation. How about that, Mags? Not bad leaning in. How about that?
I mean, yep, lots of goals to talk about, so there is that.
Indeed. On that cue, let's hit the intro. Absolutely. This is the Volley live on Radio Tekkers with Matt and Mags. We are here to round up what's been going on in the last 24 hours of the Premier League. Obviously, technically speaking, a weekend football. Technically speaking, because it was a weekend, despite the fact being Christmas. But as I say, I am Magnificent Matt Willis, and I am joined by his kablamship, of course. Take thy knee for his lordship. Kablam. How are you, sir? How are you?
Yeah, not doing too bad. I had a really kind of fun, understated Christmas. I had a good recording of Chain Wrestling a few minutes ago, and yeah, ready to chat some Premier League. It's been an interesting weekend. We've had some matches postponed, and yet we've had arguably the most goals that we've seen of a weekend. Certainly that since we've been doing the Volley, and sometimes we've covered two game weeks in one sittings. But yeah, there's plenty of action to talk about,
and some absolute belters as well. Some absolute belters for sure in terms of goals. Of course, I'm here. You're here. Tanner was much of a chicken to turn up. Yes, I was watching yesterday, Tanner. Okay, so yes, that's me getting my own back on you. And let's not get started about your takes on pigs and blankets. So we'll move on from that to course, Mags, and let's start rounding up the football, shall we? See if I've been a wise move. Okay, so obviously, as we said earlier, obviously this weekend was unfortunately not as bad as it was a couple of weeks ago, but it was still affected by a COVID-19 outbreak. Of course, Omicron is still rife in the United Kingdom, of course. Although I will say that cases are dropping day by day, but
it's also not as deadly as the other variant. So there's a little bit of solace to be taken in that. But yeah, still. Whilst Matt is still at the Formula One,
my windows are closed as well. Yeah. I'm so sorry about that.
If you get the option to, please take the vaccine. Whether you agree with the politics behind it or not, just look after yourself and make sure that you are as safe as you can be with this COVID variant.
Absolutely. Me and Mags are not doctors, but we do know that these things work. Okay, that's not us being bad. That's not us bantering here. This is us being absolutely 100% serious. Get the vaccine, get the booster if you're eligible for it straight away, because they'll protect you, protect your loved ones, and the people around you. Because the sooner we get that, the sooner we get back to normal.
Exactly.
That's simple. Exactly. It's that simple, guys. Come on. And yeah, by now, I'm just going to say it one more time because he gets on the chest. Anyone out there who says, "Oh, we're going to track you with it," you're using a fucking phone which has got all the tracking information inside of it to tweet this stuff out. Okay, get over yourself. We know where you are. Right. Okay. Get off my chest. Got off my chest. Okay. So I've got quite a big chest as well, apparently. So. Right, as you can see below, obviously Liverpool versus Leeds, Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Watford, and Burnley versus Everton, all postponed due to a COVID-19 outbreak. This is unfortunate because I believe, unless I'm incorrect, man, as of the end of tonight's game, which we'll get to later on, that Newcastle are a place above Burnley. I believe
we're level on points. They're just below us.
Oh, okay. They were briefly during the game. We'll get to that later on. And you have 4 games in hand on them.
We do. Between us and Watford, we have between 2 and 4 games on the teams around us.
So you've got you have games to make up. So that's fine. You'll be fine.
I mean,
I think you'll be fine.
some of the fixtures are pretty tough. We've got obviously a West Ham game to replay, an Everton game to replay. The Watford one will be a 6-pointer for sure. But I mean, there's been some controversy about the fixtures today with your favourite manager, Mr. Klopp. And some of his thoughts and his mindsets, but at the end of the day, Burnley are going to suffer because we're going to have to cram these games in somewhere. So yeah, it's going to be a long, hard slog.
Not ideal for sure.
No, absolutely not.
And Connor came in the chat, absolutely the same thing. Arsenal with the Wolves on Tuesday, it's also postponed as well. Yeah. Unfortunately, this is the case. Tomorrow's game is postponed. That's from a Wolves point of view, not an Arsenal point of view, by all accounts. So, all those who have gone down,
and I think tomorrow Leeds and Villa has also been postponed.
Yes, I believe it is. I believe that is the case. Yes, Leeds Villa is, but it's still Palace, Norwich, Southampton, Tottenham, Watford, West Ham, and Leicester, Liverpool.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big game because Leicester want revenge for the Carabao Cup defeat last week, of course. Because they had that in the bag. They had that in the bag, Max. They had that in the bag and they threw it away.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, absolutely right. That's right, Connor. So yeah, these games are unfortunately postponed. All those concerned who are suffering from the COVID-19 outbreak, obviously, best wishes and get well soon, guys. Obviously, right. So, how about we get on to the games which did take place? Now, the first few all took place on Boxing Day. The only game we did was Newcastle Man United. We'll get to you later on. Mm-hmm. Let's start with how about we start with Belter, Mags?
Yeah, Man City. Man City 6, Leicester 3. What a way to start the Boxing Day coverage. And Man City were what 4 up within half an hour.
20 something minutes. I think it wasn't even that long. I've got the numbers to hand here. If you give me one moment, because I actually going to pop through on my phone.
Yeah, so 25 minutes. Yeah, we had the opener with De Bruyne, which was a beautifully taken goal. Then I think it was Mahrez who put away the penalty. Then Gundogan just had an easy tap in when Cancelo's cross was palmed in front of him, and then Sterling was brought down for the second penalty, and it looked like this was going into cricket scores. With City 4-0 up, and then Leicester had a real bright 10-minute period, all kind of led by Iheanacho. He
point to prove his old club, of course.
Yeah, exactly. He created the chances for Maddison, who scored a glorious goal, and then he set up Lookman, and it was looking a little bit edgy. And then
so much so, Mags, that when it was 4-2, I put a bet on Man City to lose.
Wow, that's brave. 50 pence.
A whole quid.
A whole quid. Well, you must have been absolutely just enthralled when Iheanacho got that third goal.
What a goal as well.
Yeah, really well taken goal. But City kind of saw that maybe they needed to put this game to bed, kind of stop Leicester in their tracks. And we get Laporte a few minutes later scoring a really good header. And then obviously Sterling getting his second with the last few minutes or so. I think Tielemans had a pretty bad game. I think he was at fault for both penalties.
Yeah.
Really kind of.
I've been thinking his praises all season. I've been saying how I'd have him at all costs in my team. You're a big fan of him as well, Mags. I'm aware.
Yeah, I think he's superb. But we all have bad days.
Bad day at the office for you for sure.
So let's have a look at some stats. And I think these stats are actually really, really interesting. So in terms of possession, Man City dominated, like 72% possession to Leicester's 28%. But where it really looks better for Leicester is City had 17 shots, with 9 of them being on target. Leicester, with their 28% possession, had 14 shots and 8 of those on target. So this was a really kind of efficient play by Leicester. They did really, really well to get that amount of goals out of that little possession of the ball. So there's certainly a lot of positives to come out of this, but that defence took an absolute battering. And City, with still kind of going with this kind of strikerless formation, were glorious. We've criticised City a lot for being doing just enough to win and not really kind of putting in a lot of effort to destroy teams. In this game, that first 25 minutes was sublime. Everything
ruthless.
Yeah, exactly. Everything they touched just ended up in a shot or ended up in a goal. And it was only that last 10-minute period where Leicester looked particularly dangerous. And when City realised that maybe the comeback was on, they quickly put an end to it and finished the game off. But yeah, this was a glorious way to start bank holiday Boxing Day football.
It is. I've been very. When you see games like this, you start thinking about your dream teams. You start thinking about who's massively dropping points here, who's massively getting points here. I don't know if you've recently looked at our Premier League fantasy draw, which we did at the start of the season, Max. Have you recently?
I've not looked in about 4 weeks.
I check weekly, just to glance at it. But I didn't know it was quite the difference here.
Also, I'm second in it, allegedly.
You are second, and you are comfortably second.
You are walking away with this league.
Yeah, I'm actually 100 ahead of Tanner. I'm 100 ahead of Tanner.
It's 120 on man.
Yeah, I was being conservative.
I actually need to look at my team and see if there's anyone I want to check out. So I'm glad you reminded me.
See, Tanner meant because I'm thinking, of course, because transfer window opens, of course, next week. Mm-hmm. So I mentioned Tanner asked me during because I went back and watched the Liverpool versus Leeds commentary we did back in the archives, and Tanner actually asked me, "What's my secret?" I said, "I picked players that were going to play."
Mm-hmm. That's right, and I've done the typical thing that I do with fantasy football is I get really invested for the first few weeks. And then I kind of drop off, and I've stuck with the same team for the last few months, and it's actually not done me too bad.
No, so you've done reasonably well, Max. Reasonably well. Not paying attention to it, done reasonably well. But yeah, it's certainly a game where if you had Raheem Sterling in your team, great. If you had any Leicester defenders in your team,
and Sterling. To say he was kind of almost in the doghouse at City, I think
that's not unreasonable at all.
Yeah, I think this is the 4th successive Premier League game that he scored in, and he hasn't done that since like 2017. So he's in a rich vein of form. I mean, he's essentially undroppable with the form that he's playing right now.
Yeah, I'm never going to be his biggest fan for the way he left the club. But I certainly appreciate his form and his football, and he was in the right place at the right time for his second goal. Took a good penalty. He's getting back into form at the right sort of time because Christmas means you pick up form. You can't win title over Christmas, but you can lose over Christmas.
Yeah,
and that lead is helpful for him.
Yeah, and on the other side of the coin, the drop off from Leicester has been phenomenal. I mean, when there was talk of Brendan Rodgers taking over the job at Manchester United, you were looking at Leicester top 3, and now this result leaves them 10th in the league. That's absolutely shocking for a Leicester who's really been pushing to be counted as one of the new big 6. Now they seem to be in free fall.
It gets worse, Mags, as well. Because if Leicester lose their game in hand, they drop another place.
Wow!
Because if they lose, obviously they'll have a minus in goal difference, obviously, which will take them below Villa.
Yeah, exactly. Because Villa are on -4 and Leicester are on -3. Yeah,
Exactly. So it's that close down there. It's going to be that way across the entire of the Premier League at the moment. It's tight at the top. It's tight at the bottom. Chelsea, of course, we're going to get to later on, of course, because obviously you, Tanner, and briefly our own reporter, Mr. Harris, was doing the watch-long game, of course. So we'll get to that later on, of course. But yeah, what do they do here? Do they hang on for the window, or do they just start do what you've been telling them to do? Start Patson Daka.
Yeah, I mean, again, even with Vardy not available, they didn't play Paxton Daka. I mean, Iheanacho clearly deserved his spot because he was involved in all three of the Leicester goals. But I still don't get how you have a ruthless goal machine like Paxton Daka on in your squad, and he still can't get a game. I wonder if he's regretting the move now.
Maybe a little bit. Maybe someone else will come in and step him up in the window because very possible, very very possible. It amazes me that Leicester have lost more games than the entire top three combined.
Wow, that's pretty bad.
Indeed.
So yeah, have they lost seven
games
so far? They've actually lost more than they've won.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, they've lost more games than they have won but game in hand that can change around, of course. And then it's just to take one game to click, and you can change if turning form around. Of course, we all know this. We saw it with Arsenal. I mean, look at them. They were 20th. Ramsdale goes in goal, and now they're 4th.
Great. And a great segue.
Absolutely great segue, because the hell we're going to talk about now. This is a game which, first of all, we're talking about Norwich 0, Arsenal 5. Comment came in the chat, but they had that, of course. This is an example of why, when I've been drinking, take my phone off me.
Okay.
I was having an argument, as you do on Boxing Day, about what to put on my Super Six. You know, the competition for the free bet and you win money.
Yeah.
So I asked my brother, who's an Arsenal fan. I said, who's in the lineup for Arsenal today? They went through the entire lineup from start to finish from memory, because he does that. I was like, okay, that's 6-0. And he laughed at me. I'm like, I'm telling you, I'm putting money in my mouth here. So I put it on my Super Six. I actually put the bet on for 6-0.
Oh, wow. You must have been absolutely kicking yourself.
I tell you what, I wasn't, because at the same time, I had Man City to win 4-1. So 4-1, I was like, excellent. And then they didn't stop scoring. But other games didn't go my way either, because the Tottenham result and the West Ham result didn't go my way either. But that's neither here nor there. This game, though, was a capitulation by Norwich. Angus Gunn was in goal for Norwich. Hasn't played all season. He's a decent keeper, but he's not Tim Krul.
No. And stats wise, in terms of possession, it was pretty similar to the City and Leicester game. Arsenal had 65% of the ball compared to Norwich's 35%. But the difference is Arsenal had way more shots, like 16 shots compared to Norwich's 4. And interestingly, they only had 6 on target, and yet scored 5 goals out of those 6, which just goes to show how bad of a day Angus Gunn had in the sticks, and how bad of a day Kabak had in defence. This was the young guns again. I mean, we've mentioned it time and time again, just how much Arsenal should build the team around the likes of Saka, around the likes of Smith Rowe, around the likes of Kieran Tierney, because these were the guys that led the line. Odegaard as well didn't get on the score sheet, but was well involved in the assists. And Lacazette, he's thriving in this role as kind of a surrogate captain.
He stepped up, hasn't he?
Which again, we've said Arsenal needed. They needed one of those older heads to step up and lead the line, and it's paying off absolute dividends now. I mean, this cemented their spot in 4th place, but it was just a glorious performance. Norwich had no answer to the pacing runs of Kieran Tierney, the ball control and finishing of Saka. It was a great match to watch.
Two beautiful goals, and he reminds me a lot. And this is I'm going to sound like I'm overhyping it here, but this is quite the compliment I'm paying him here. When Saka's on that right hand side, he cuts him on his left, and he aims for that far corner. He reminds me of a young Mo Salah.
Do you know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of Paulo Wanchope.
That's a strange comparison.
Because when you see him on the ball, you don't know what he's going to do. No,
Wanchope was. You didn't know how bad he was going to be half the time.
No, but I think Paulo Wanchope is one of the most underrated Premier League players we've had. He was so exciting to watch, but he always had that air of, I'm going to run with this ball, and I haven't got a clue what I'm going to do with it, but I'm going to get to the goal. And Saka has that same kind of mentality where it doesn't matter how many defenders are in front of him. That guy is going towards the goals, whether you like it or not. And he's got that air of fearlessness, I suppose, that he's not scared of anybody at all. And he forces defenders to come at him, which allows for those kind of holes in the play where players like Odegaard, players like Smith Rowe and Lacazette can find space. He's glorious to watch. I think he's going to be a star for the next 10, 15 years.
Saka will one day captain Arsenal, I feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I believe it. Well, either him or Smith Rowe, for sure.
I mean, for me, I think Tierney has got a great kind of older head on him for a young kid. I think he will be a brilliant captain. But yeah, I can see Saka being the kind of player that Thierry Henry meant to Arsenal. Yeah,
that team is so young now, and it's so hungry. Mm-hmm. And if they're the ones that dragged Arsenal from 20th up to the Champions League spots. Granted, it was early in the season, but even so, they still did it. Not Aubameyang.
Yeah, as of now, they are fourth, and they are 6 points clear of Tottenham. Now, granted, Tottenham have a lot of games in hand, but Arsenal's form is second only to Manchester City. 4 wins on the bounce. City are beating them with 5 on the bounce. It's a great run of form for them.
It is indeed, and I'm very happy to watch Arsenal regularly. It's like, it's a good game of football. Even when they don't win, they still play really well. It's a good game to watch, and and Arsenal's young guns, as you keep calling them, and rightly so. How many more exerters can you put into place here? I don't think Ramsdale's going to have an easier game all season, though.
No, absolutely. And this was, I think this game marks the second anniversary of Arteta being in charge at Arsenal. When he took over, they were 11th. The season after last Boxing Day, they were 14th. And look at where they are now. They're fourth. Looking at top 4 is something that they can easily cling on to and get that Champions League spot. Yeah, this is a real turnaround for Arsenal.
Conor McCabe in the chat is saying, I think that all Premier League should declare all proposed games a draw and give each team a point because they're not going to get more play before the season ends. There are certain people who support certain teams, some of which may be represented in this particular stream, who would say get to
draws would not help Burnley.
Exactly. What I would say is there is the winter break, which of course happens in February sort of time. They'll just say, yeah, we need to use the break, guys. We need to use it. And that's fine. If that's okay, that'll be absolutely fine. But yeah, Dean Smith said apparently he didn't see this one coming.
Wow.
Because they were toe with United recently, of course.
Could Dean Smith be the first manager to get sacked twice in a Premier League season?
I think no matter who took the Norwich job, they were onto a hiding to nothing.
Yeah, so a little bit of stats about Norwich. This is they haven't scored in any of their last 4 games. They've only got 8 goals total in the Premier League, and Timo Pukki, he only touched the ball 23 times in the whole game against Arsenal.
That many?
That's shocking, but yeah, 23 touches.
Dan Griffin in the chat. Welcome back, Dan. Says, I think it needs to be a bit more nuanced than that. If one team can't fill the full 11, the team gets a 3-0 loss like a regular forfeit. If both teams are falling foul, 0-0. I think maybe you have a point to that, but we hope we can get to that, hopefully.
I mean, there's a simpler way to do it. You get the best FIFA player from each team and they play each other, and that's how you settle the score.
To be fair, that could... Thing is how good those guys are. Maybe that could be a fair way of sorting it. Dan Griffin, also, evening, folks. Evening.
Hello,
indeed,
sir.
Dan. Evening. Welcome to the Volley, of course. If you're just joining the Volley, welcome. We are rounding up the Boxing Day and Christmas side of things in the Premier League here, of course. We've wrapped up Man City and Arsenal now. Michael Pellegrini, happy soccer, last one of the year. Indeed, yes. This is the last Volley of the year and my last Volley of the year.
And if you've got a couple of hours to spare, definitely go and check out Devoid on YouTube, because they've done their Christmas episode recently, and it's a whole lot of fun.
Absolutely, Devoid in general are an absolutely amazing brand, and I love to be associated with those guys as and when I can do so. Right, so yeah, Arsenal onward and upward for them. Norwich, right there, one off guys, and try again next week. Literally, all you can do, really, unfortunately. Now, let's go to the other side of North London, Mags, and talk about Tottenham and Crystal Palace.
Yep. Again, I've got to give props to Antonio Conte. He's never been a manager who I've had a lot of love for. I mean, he's been incredibly successful, but he's just never been somebody I really vibe with. But he's turned this Tottenham team around. I mean, he was dealing with a misfiring Son. He was dealing with a Kane who looked like he didn't want to be there. It looked like an uphill task for Antonio Conte to take on, and he's absolutely transformed the team. Maybe not to the extent that Arteta has done over the last few weeks at Arsenal, but Harry Kane is looking happier now. He's scoring goals. Son, whilst he's not to the kind of blistering form that he's been over the last couple of years, he's back in the scoring books, and they're using Lucas more and more to highlight his positives. This was a classy performance, and the one letdown was the attitude of one Wilfried Zaha.
I missed. Obviously, we didn't see the game live, and I've caught highlights later, and I saw the second yellow, and I'm like, that was stupid. What was he thinking?
I mean, he got booked a few minutes earlier for a silly tackle on Sanchez, and then obviously they had that little bit set to at the touchline where he clearly pushes Sanchez over. So the red card was absolutely deserved.
Well, in the face.
Yeah. But then when Emerson comes over to try and calm him down, he's pushing Emerson as well. So he's clearly got this bee in his bonnet over probably the first booking, but it was a well-deserved sending off, and that kind of it changed the tide of the game, I suppose, because up to then, Palace, whilst they were 1-0 down, they were still in the game, and after that, it was all over. It ended up being the Tottenham show. Tottenham took control of the possession, ended up with 60% of the ball, 17 shots to Palace's 4, 6 on target to Palace's 0 on target. Yeah, this ended up being so one-sided that maybe it should have been more than 3-0. But Antonio Conte is going to be more than happy with that front line. All 3 of them scoring 3 very different goals, but 3 goals nonetheless.
Looking back at that goal by Lucas, one could argue that the way he went in, you could argue that was a foul, but at the same time,
There was a suspicion of that, but nobody called on it, and it was a well-met header. But yeah, this is 3 points now for Conte and Spurs of what in the last 5 they've only dropped 2 points. You can't grumble at that.
Turn the corner.
You can't grumble about that at all.
Indeed, I was talking with my brother-in-law yesterday, of course, whilst I was 3 sheets to the wind, and we were discussing how Conte has turned it around, because my nephew is a massive Spurs fan. Absolutely massive. His idol is Harry Kane, but he loves the entire Spurs squad. So when I asked him which number each player was, he would rattle them all off. Fair, he's 9, he should be able to. But when I said, we're trying to figure out who had got the assist for Lucas's goal, and because every single company put it up as later de Souza Jr., which of course is Emerson Royale. I don't know why they don't just say Emerson Royale, because it would be much easier for all of us who know that's what his name is.
I mean, it's a weird thing to get stuck up on, but yeah, I do get it. It's that whole kind of Brazilian / Portuguese naming of players. One thing I do want to kind of touch on though is Harry Kane. He loves scoring on Boxing Day, doesn't he?
He does indeed.
6 Boxing Day games he's played in his career and 6 goals that he's got.
Not a bad return.
Not a bad return at all. But yeah, it's as much as he kind of put himself as a martyr in wanting to leave, and I still believe he was justified in hearing his side and how Daniel Levy kind of reneged on his deal. I can see why he was upset, but at the end of the day, you've still got to knuckle down. You're still getting paid by the club. You've still got to perform. And I think we're finally seeing Harry Kane returning to the form that made him an absolute killer. Hopefully, he can continue that. But he also may want to be putting himself in the shop window for a January transfer.
Maybe he just knuckles down and gets Tottenham back in the Champions League, and then maybe he can actually stay with them for a championship run next year. Who knows? Who knows? We'll get to Palace in a moment, Mag, talk about them. But we've got a lot of activity in the chat we've got to catch up on here. Dan Griffin is saying, sorry, Mitchell Ridley, Mag, we guessed I've had to play bartender. And
absolutely not. Sam may have called you a letdown. I will not call you that. Your stories certainly filled the chat with a lot of laughter. So, yeah.
Indeed, he did say, to be fair, got down to his train wrestling, I had a reason to get drunk. And to which side did laugh. But he did also say, for a cheap plug, this is my class group of booze outside. I'll be reet to record the Doctor Who podcast very soon on all podcast platforms through Radio Tekkers, of course.
Looking forward to that.
Just saying, why did I not get an invite? Anyway, moving on. Because you're
such a podcast whore.
Absolutely. When it comes to that, absolutely. Alonzi. Right, moving on. Good got back up in the chat, actually. So just wanted to say hi, guys. Got back from a road trip and saw you were on. He also says,
welcome, sir.
He also says, please tell me, I didn't miss your review of main game. I just saw the score. We haven't missed anything, sir. We're just rounding up the Tottenham Palace game, and then we're moving on from that. It's the last one we'll talk about. Don't worry. Okay, so Palace. Max, Bob's missing Vieira because obviously he went down with COVID on the day.
It's very similar to Steven Gerrard, who we'll talk about in a little while.
Yes, obviously get well soon to Patrick Vieira. People were calling him the Arsenal manager in waiting after his performances as Palace manager this season, which I think is a little premature. But Palace has so many players out today. They had so many players out. They had first choice keeper out. They had Benteke out. They had so many players who weren't in this game. And I was like, with great respect to Palace, maybe they should have asked for a postponement.
I believe that they did. Vieira said I think it was on the Friday interview that there'd been a couple of cases.
Did ask, yes.
Then they asked for the postponement on the Saturday, and they got a reply from the FA on the Sunday to say that the game was going to take place. And I feel for Vieira and Palace. I think he had a brilliant start to the season, and the wheels have kind of come off recently over the last 5 games. They've only been able to pick up 4 points, but it still leaves them comfortably in mid-table. And it's easy to forget that he had a massive rebuild at the beginning of the season to do. He had so many of his first team players out of contract. The Roy Hodgson retired, so he came into a shell of a club, an absolute shell of a club. So he had all that rebuild to do. So for Palace to be comfortable in mid-table after all that, I think it's testament to his managerial credentials.
Indeed, and I say Palace will be fine. I think what they are saying, they've got to ride the wave a little bit, literally. Unfortunately, not least because of what Roberts said in the interview after the game. Quote: "It's been a testing time for us." I'm like, the wordplay on that is somewhat ironic.
But quality.
It is. Yeah. They're 12th on the table now, and they've got Zaha missing for the next game, which Mags, if I'm not mistaken, isn't an easy game.
I don't even know their next fixture is. It's not that bad. I think they'll be happier to be going to be playing Norwich at home. So
of course it is, yes.
That's certainly a winnable game, and I'll certainly be backing Palace to win that.
I was thinking of West Ham, but that's in January. My apologies.
Yeah, that's New Year's Day. I think New Year's Day game.
Lovely. I can watch that when I get to the hotel room. Excellent, lovely. Okay. So yeah, Palace just riding things at the moment because obviously some players are out with COVID and suspensions and injuries. All concerned get well soon on that side of things. Unfortunately, it's really for the capital moment. But Tottenham had it a few weeks ago. So, it is just thinking about it. Hopefully, things will come good there. Over in East London, Max, a lot of London games this week.
Yes.
West Ham and Southampton. I just had a 2-1 West Ham. So I made like that on this. I amazingly missed out this one. What a game.
Yeah, West Ham certainly needed to return to form after kind of falling off a little bit after such a great start to the season. Trading kind of wins, draws, and losses. This is now the second loss on the bounce, I think. And where did this Southampton performance come from? They haven't shown anything near this kind of clinical finishing in any of the previous games. This is a Southampton team who were becoming draw specialists.
Indeed, they're first 3 and 7, yeah.
Yeah, 8 draws in total throughout the league. But yeah, this was a really, really good performance led by a great showcase by Ward-Prowse. We started pretty early with El Unisaid's opener, and then we got Antonio picking out for, I think it was the header. Then Ward-Prowse got the penalty. And it was kind of like trading back and forward. I think Ben Rama again got the equaliser for West Ham. And a great performance by Bowen. That ball to Ben Rama was beautiful. Really kind of cut the defence apart and left Southampton with no chance of stopping it. But then 5 minutes later, Bednarek pops up with the header. A really well needed victory for Southampton. I mean, we've been speaking about Hassan Huttle being one of the favourites to be fired. He'll be so relieved. This is the best Christmas present he could have had from his Southampton players. A really entertaining game. Stats wise, very even down the middle. 56% of possession to West Ham, 44 to Southampton. 11 shots each. 5 on target for West Ham, 6 on target for Southampton. So it was very even down the middle of the game. But Southampton finally showing a little bit of steel and finally showing that they can beat teams. And what a team to pick up a win against with West Ham who were flying. I think this still keeps them in 6th. so they're still in touch of those European places. But yeah, it's not going well for David Moyes' West Ham at the moment.
Yeah, they haven't won in 5 now. And that's for a team which has beaten Chelsea, beaten Liverpool, only team to beat Liverpool in any competition this year. Yeah, I'd be slightly concerned, but Christmas can be a crazy time, unfortunately. You get some shock results, of course. This is just what they have needed, for sure. No question about it as well that West Ham need to put behind them and get cracking quickly, because as I've mentioned, they've got a game against coming up against Palace in the year, of course.
Yeah.
And they're also playing, I believe, because they're also playing tomorrow night, of course, against Watford, which is going ahead. So massive match West Ham tomorrow night, especially when you've got Arsenal.
Come on, West Ham, get that form back. We need you to Watford for us, so we get more games in hand on them and we can still keep them in touch.
Indeed, especially with Arsenal not playing, they need to capitalise on that for sure. That's a 3 o'clock kickoff, of course, tomorrow, guys. So keep your eyes open for that one. Yeah. So, any pearls of wisdom for your Mags for Southampton?
Yeah, I think Brozier is really kind of starting to show his class, leading that Southampton attack. I mean, they have struggled with the loss of Ings in getting amongst the goals, but it's finally coming good with him. I mean, obviously they've got the talisman in Ward-Prowse, but he can't do it all by himself, and he certainly needs somebody to be able to feed the ball into it. And Brozier's finally stepping up in that spot. And I think they've also got a decent kind of backup in Adam Armstrong. He did really well when at Blackburn, so I think he can maybe be the next big number now for Southampton. But yeah, it was just a very steely performance. They showed a little bit of backbone, which they've really kind of struggled with. I think that defensive setup of Badnarik and Salisu really performed well this game. So yeah, there was a lot of positives for this Southampton team.
Indeed, Badnarik scoring again, of course. That's I believe that's his second goal in 3 games. Big deal for him. Obviously, it's good to see him back behind the goals because they needed it. I mean, as you were saying, Mag, but before I get interrupted, give you 5 seconds. I think it's the first time in 5 years they took a point here.
Yep, I believe so. Yep.
Yeah. So they said that they've lost a lot of points this year when they could have picked up draws, if not wins. So this was a very, very much earned point. Well, but 3 points, I apologise. So Saints fans. West Ham definitely will feel they could have got something out of this game. But you can't win them all, guys. On to the next game, Max, which actually was the Tekkers watch-long game.
It was, and like you said, started with myself, Tanner, making his grand re-debut with Tekkers, with his overindulgent arm back video, thinking he's the next Michael Jordan.
Oh my goodness, that video was
it was cool. It was cringe but cool.
In a way, it was so cringe, but at the same time, chef's kiss.
But yeah, we was also joined for a little while with Chris. Unfortunately, he had to go and attend to some matters, but he missed out on a really entertaining game. Very kind of almost a game of Jekyll and Hyde style game. The first half was very much Aston Villa pinged back and really kind of counter-attacking, really kind of looking dangerous when doing that. And then in the second half, it was Chelsea were pinned back and counter-attacking. And the difference maker was Romelu Lukaku. He the way they were able to just punt the ball forward to him, and he was so dangerous that we at Tekkers and also on the live broadcast gave him the man of the match because his influence in that 45 minutes was absolutely pivotal. But the goals came with I think it was Matty Targett crossed the ball and Reece James headed to try and clear it, and he just got a little bit of a not enough contact on it, I suppose, and it sent it past Edouard Mendy, and then Matty Cash, who had played really well up to this point, he became the villain. He ended up, I think he brought down Rudiger. I think. Oh no, it was sorry, I apologize. It was Hudson-Odoi, which Jorginho was able to put away, and then we got the Lukaku show. He was in the middle of absolutely everything. Scored his goal about 10 minutes after he came onto the pitch, and then the winner came when the goal that kind of put Villa to bed came when pretty much the same kind of thing. The ball was punted forward. Lukaku was able to run on it. He already held off the challenge from I think it was again Matty Targett, which left Ezri Konsa having no option than to professionally foul Lukaku in the box. He kind of he tried to play it off, but Lukaku obviously just bullied his way through that defence, and Jorginho was able to score his second penalty of the game. And I thought a 3-1 victory kind of flattered Chelsea a little bit,
yeah.
But they were certainly deserving of the win, having way more of the possession, 58% to Villa's 42. 10 shots on target to 10 shots and 4 on target compared to Villa's 8 shots and 1 on target. But yeah, it wasn't the classic Chelsea performance that we've seen over this season, but it was certainly better than the last few weeks' performances. And Thomas Tuchel will be glad to have picked up 3 points here. And another terrible performance by Tyrone Mings.
Yes, you have extensive effort this season, Mags, berated the existence of Tyrone Mings in an England shirt.
Mm-hmm. He just annoys me. He's slow. He's club-footed. He is poor at making decisions. I don't get how he gets in the England squad. And I've shared a video in our group chat of something that he did in this game where he attempted to clear the ball and he actually lost where the ball was and it hit him in the arse. And then he tried to play it off like he meant to do that, and he didn't. And then when another player came and kind of cleaned up for it, he was angry about it, which was ridiculous.
Yeah, he's certainly not going to. I don't think he'll be on Mag's Christmas card list for next year for sure. Doug from the chat mentioning about obviously the exalted return of his lordship, not actual lord, of course, like yourself, Mags, but Dan Griffin saying, does the I'm back? His internet shit the bed. Needs talent.
Multiple times his internet shit the bed. There were at least 3 times where he looked like he had a big cheesy grin on his face, and I was talking away to him, and his internet just wasn't there. So yeah,
need a talent internet trophy apparently.
Yeah, my back was aching from carrying the show.
Apparently, for whoever looks a tit because of connection issues, well, that'll be permanently Tanner then. Okay. Declan also in the chat, insane to me that Mings get called up over Konsa. Well, Konsa, yes, but also, of course, James, Charles Tarkowski, and Benjamin Aubameyang, me.
Whoa, Aubameyang. That's an unfortunate middle name.
I was looking for a name, and that's the first that came to my mind.
I must say, though, I do feel sorry for Martinez. I don't think he deserved to be on the losing end of this game. He was superb. There was one shot that Mason Mount had that came from absolutely nowhere, kind of like very reminiscent of the Joe Cole goal for, I think it was in his Liverpool days, kind of a looping shot towards the top corner. Didn't go in, hit the bar, but Martinez was nearly caught flat-footed with that, but made a great kind of move to get back to it. But yeah, he had a really good game. I think he was by far Villa's best player. But yeah, it was this was the Lukaku show. You can tell Chelsea have missed an out-and-out striker. With him being back for that 45 minutes, it changed the game.
Yeah, you can't really argue about one. It did change the game completely. Lukaku, the £100 million man, back from injury, back from COVID, and first game, literally, I think he had like 4 touches before he scored. He's back amongst it for sure, and I'm very happy to see that, of course. Dan Griffin is following up what you're saying there about Tyrone Mings, saying he would be all up for Pope, Tarkowski, and me being England's goalkeeper and centre back partnerships.
Yeah, I mean that is a little bit of a stretch. I mean, I like Charlie Taylor, but I don't know if he's international level. But certainly Pope should be in the shout. If Jordan Pickford's your number one keeper, Pope is twice the keeper Pickford is. Tark, it's likely that he probably won't be in a Burnley shirt for much longer. Same with Ben Mee. I know there's talk of him leaving as well, and I wouldn't begrudge them to a big move because they have been absolute stalwarts for the club. It's just going to be a shame for him to go, with Burnley in the position that they're in. But yeah, if they need to move on, I mean, I get Burnley are unfashionable. We're never going to be a team that Gareth Southgate wants to come and watch week in, week out. So yeah, they deserve huge moves to get in that England setup. It's criminal that Tark didn't go to the Euros. Absolutely criminal.
You're not going to find me arguing that one, Mags. You know my thoughts on Tarkowski. I think he's a fantastic defender and should have been there, but it didn't happen. Unfortunately, I'm surprised he wasn't called up when the Trent Alexander-Arnold had to drop out. I'm surprised he wasn't called up, but it is what it is. So yeah, Villa obviously thinks even Gerrard due to COVID for the second time this year. He's had it now, of course, which shows you guys you can get it twice. So again, get your boosters. You've been saying that Tuchel, obviously, if the thing the wheels that fall off the Tuchel bus, didn't look like it in this game by results, but at times they looked laboured, they looked off it at times. Mendy is still making errors.
Yeah, I mean, I still think he's one of the best keepers in the world. And you can't be on form all the time. I mean, we saw that with the likes of De Gea. He was far and away one of the best keepers in the Premier League for a long time, and his form dropped off. And now look at him now; he's doing really, really well back in the sticks at Man United. So I think it's a case of form is temporary, class is forever. And Mendy's just going through a bit of a sticky patch, but Chelsea are still keeping in touch with the top two, and they certainly needed this victory. Certainly needed the 3 points to keep up with the likes of Liverpool and City. I think if they hadn't have won, it would have left them around 9 points behind City, and you struggle to see where City drop points if the likes of Liverpool and Chelsea don't beat them. So you do need to keep winning to be in with a shout of picking up their place if they do drop points. So yeah, Chelsea definitely needed this victory, and it's good to see them back on form. I'm really kind of interested in this 3-way battle for the Premier League. As a neutral, I know you would rather it be a one-team battle, but for a neutral, it's really interesting.
You say that, Max. You say that. I've seen Liverpool win the title at Alicante, and don't get me wrong, that was fine, obviously, but to beat competition when it's at its best, that is when you get that, like, yeah, we earned that one. There'd be no arguments about that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. It wasn't by default. No asterisk next to the name. That's what I want. I want to be on the receiving end of a championship at the end of a long, hard-fought battle. Missed out on it once a couple of years ago, of course, that way. But I'd rather be involved in one than walk it again. I'll be honest.
Yep.
So I'm probably a minority on that one, but yeah. But Dan Griffin in the chat, continuing with the Burnley praise, saying that the Burnley improve himself the elite centre back we all know who he is and start regular for England.
Yeah, I mean, I
love
would
Nat Phillips.
happily take Nat Phillips. I know he's getting a little bit frustrated with the game time, but how do you kind of force your way into that squad when you've got the likes of Van Dijk, you've got the likes of Matip, Kanate? It's always going to be a struggle for Nat Phillips to get regular game time. So if he wants to mosey on down to Turf Moor for a little while, I'm sure he'll pick up some minutes there.
Indeed, and you may well need to replace them bring him in if Tark does head off to Newcastle, as you've been saying for the last few months.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's looking more and more likely, especially with Newcastle not getting the results they need, that they're going to be spending big in the next couple of weeks.
Oh God, that's terrible, Dan. I love Paolo Nardini.
That's awful.
That's awful indeed.
Why would you not just go with the classic Nat King Cole? Very
good indeed, Max. But no good segue here. So let's talk about Brighton and Brentford.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about Southampton pulling a performance out of their arse. Where was this Brighton performance from? I mean, they've always played really pretty football.
It's the goals.
They've not been able to convert that good football into wins. And I think this was their first win in 12, I want to say.
12. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, but the two great goals, two absolutely glorious goals. The opener with Trossard with a beautiful lob, and then Maupay finishing the game off with a beautiful curl. Brighton, to say they haven't won in 12, are still in the top half of the table as well. This moves them up to 9th, but it shows how quickly the Brighton experiment has started to fail after such a great start to the season. Not Brighton, sorry, Brentford. At such a great start to the season, Brentford are really kind of struggling now. Very close to getting sucked into that relegation mire, perhaps. Hopefully not, because I think the likes of Tony and Mbeumo have been really good for the Premier League. But the issue in this game was that there wasn't any time when Brentford looked threatening. This was pretty much all controlled by Brighton. Even though the stats say otherwise. I mean, the stats say 50-50 down the line with the ball. It says that Brentford had the more shots than Brighton. But in terms of watching the game, that flatters Brentford a hell of a lot, because it was periods of the game where they couldn't get the ball from Brighton. Maupay could have easily had a hat trick, and Wepu could have had a couple of good goals. And I think Dan Burn got a header against the bar. Even Alexis McAllister had a really good chance. But for all the possession they had and the shots they had, Brentford didn't really come close to looking threatening at all. So this was a well-deserved victory for Brighton, and kind of like pushing them back into the top half of the table. But yeah, Brentford really need to look at where things are going wrong now.
Yeah, obviously Brighton managed to obviously get themselves back up in above Leicester and Villa, of course. They're not too far for European spots still, though. They could, if they get a bit of a run together now.
Yeah, I think this puts them on 23 points, which is around 5 points behind Man United, who sat in that coveted 7th spot. It'd take consistency from Brighton to force their way into there, but they're certainly giving themselves a chance to. But you can't go 12 games without a win and still expect that you're going to be comfortable in making those European spots. They need to pick up more and more wins.
Yeah, to put that into a little bit of context, Brighton now have got less than half the points that Man City have, and Brighton are 9th in the table.
Yeah, and the issue is the goals, like we've said, whilst they've played good football and defensively they've been really, really solid, they've only scored 16 goals in 17 games, and that's certainly not enough to getting those European places. I mean, in the top half of the table, there's only Wolves who scored less than them.
This is it. You have to score goals. You look at European football. Dan Griffin in the chat is actually saying similar things, saying, I really like how Graham Potter, former Liverpool player, by the way, sets his teams up. I reckon he could translate into a top half manager. And then does also say, I may be slightly drunk / biased.
No, I think you're right. I think Graham Potter's been a revelation at Brighton, and if a top, maybe not top 6, someone along the maybe the level of West Ham or a Leicester come calling, he'd certainly fit in there. I don't know if he could translate right now to the levels of, say, a Chelsea or a Liverpool. But I mean, anything's possible. I love watching Brighton play because it's very fluid football, really kind of pass orientated. They're good to watch. It's just having that killer instinct. And whilst they had it against Brentford, I don't think they've shown enough of that over the last 12 games or so. And to kind of push on to Europe, they're going to need to be more deadly in front of goal.
Indeed. Oh, he showed up.
Here he goes. Look at him. He's there. Oh, I bet his internet problems aren't working now, are they? I'm back. I've made the decision where I will take the talent. And then internet freezes.
He's down. Apparently, he's driving on his way back after making his last trip to Waco. So he's currently sitting in traffic at the moment. Yes. Apparently,
it's all good, Tanner. So I mock because I love.
You mock because you love. I mock because he called me a chicken shit yesterday. So not for spending. I'm scared of my mother, Tanner, not you. All right.
I'm scared of his mum, and I've never met her.
Indeed. Indeed, Dan Griffin is saying, "Oh, Tanner of Pruittshire." So he's your Earl apparently. Then now is he? Okay, excellent. I would have put him on the dog's body. To be fair.
Oof.
Okay, and Tanner is confirming that he is sitting in traffic. Well, thank you for listening to us while sitting in traffic, Tanner. It's always great to have you along. So Brentford need to get Moneyball working again quickly. Good thing is that the transfer window starts in a couple of days' time, so they can get that rolling again. They need to get better service to Tony, or maybe try and get Ollie Watkins back.
Yeah, I mean, is he going to want to leave Villa? Yeah, I don't.
Probably not with Gerrard there either. They've been revitalised, haven't they? But they've got to figure something out for sure. Right, before we move on to the last game, which is the game which I think Graham in the chat is waiting to actually get to. We get to in a second. In the chat, by the way, Tanner, I proposed a Tanner internet. He's actually promoting the trophy to Tanner himself. A tip for anyone who's having internet issues on Tekkers, just FYI. Okay, if you're gonna do that, Dan Griffin, then please, I'm begging you, actually get it made because I would love to see it.
And it's got to be like the RT crowd shithead award. This has got to be a man with a tit as a head.
Absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Okay, so we've got Lord Mags, Earl Tanner, Overlord Matt, and Baldrick Chris.
Overlord, it's Dr. Matt.
Exactly, I'm a doctor. Oh, apparently Brentford could use 5 subs.
Don't come with that jibber jabber. I am not disagreeing that 5 subs is a good idea. What I am disagreeing with is Klopp's stance that teams like Burnley or whoever, I mean, I know Burnley was just the first team that came to his mind, but that those teams shouldn't have as much of a say as Liverpool have in making decisions. That's all I was getting at.
Indeed, I think it's a decision that all 20 teams should have a say in for sure. But anyway, we'll get to that another time, of course. It's time to discuss the final game from so far. Obviously, more game happening tomorrow, of course. There's no void to wrap those up this week, but obviously, Mags, you're helming the show, so you can decide when you put the next volley out. It's up to you, of course. Don't let me stay terrified, so you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. You know what the system is fine. Okay, so we're going to talk about Newcastle. We're going to talk Newcastle and Manchester United.
Yep. So this game was happening whilst I was in the the recording for Chain Wrestling, so I've only seen very scant highlights of the game. But from what I have seen, this was the Alan St. Maximin show. He was unplayable for Newcastle. Absolutely ripped the Man United defence apart for the opening goal. And looking at the stats wise, I mean, I've seen highlights where even John Joe Shelby is getting shots on target. Joel Linton had a really good game. So in terms of possession, Man United had 70% of the ball to Newcastle's 30%. They both teams had 13 shots, but Newcastle had 8 on target compared to Manchester United's 4. And from the highlights I've saw, Newcastle should have come away with way more than a point in this game. David De Gea has pulled Man United out of the shit on more than one occasion in this game. He had an outstanding game. And Cavani essentially rescues a point, which means that they still remain unbeaten under Rangnick. But this was not a good game from a Man United standpoint. They look weak in defence. The midfield passing was awful. They were bad in front of goal. And I believe it was actually Varane who's been lauded as this kind of saviour of the Man United defence, that it was his kind of error that led to Sean Longstaff being able to take the ball off him and set up Maximin for his mazy kind of almost Kanchesky style run where he just tore the defence and knew one and was able to just force it into the corner beyond David De Gea. Great goal by him, but poor performance by Man United.
Very, very poor Man United performance. Very poor. Well, actually, apart from one man, David De Gea.
Mm-hmm.
David De Gea did a great job of keeping it down. Literally, it could have been 2 or 3. Like Maximum had a couple of shots to get a hat trick. In general, he was compared today by a commentary team as being Pele-esque, which is praise indeed.
It's a lot of hyperbole. I still think he's a big fish in a small pond, and I don't know if that translates well to a top 6 team that wouldn't necessarily build a club around him. But he is fun to watch.
This is very much the case. The chat is lighting up about St. Maximum. We've got Jacob says I'm stuck with him on the FPL for sure. We'd love to see him play for Klopp. And we've got more things back and forth. I'll come back to those in a moment. Graham, we've got back up saying a typical Man United performance. Then Graham, come on, we're not biased here much. Yeah, this was not good. This is certainly the worst they played under Rolf.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they have got Burnley next as well. I've Man United at Old Trafford, so I'm sure Ralph will be hoping that they can come away with more, but they've got to expect as physical a game that they got from Newcastle today. They'll get that in spades against Burnley. Burnley are pretty tough. And they've also been a bit of a bogey team for Man United recently over the last few seasons at Old Trafford. So it's not as cut and dry as perhaps he hopes for. Yeah,
it's... At the same time, Newcastle looks so much better in the performance as well. I mean, Man looked bad, but at the same time, Newcastle in general looked really good. And Dubravka made some great saves as well. And if they compare it this, Newcastle could well get themselves a bit closer to safety. Performances. They need more. They need more performances like this. What I'm saying, they need performances like this to get them on that, to get them closer. But they can't do that.
Let's not put that out in the ether, because as a Burnley fan, I don't want Newcastle to have good performances. I need them to stay where they are.
Max, they can, as long as you do too. Then you can both stay up.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I would rather Newcastle in the Premier League than say Watford.
Well, Yeah, I guess so. I like Cladwell. Fine. To be fair, Watford have got a big game against Norwich, of course, tomorrow. We'll see how they go on with that one, of course. I want Newcastle to always beat Man United because I dislike Man United with a passion, but at the same time, I users like Newcastle because of Mike Ashley, and I want to dislike them because of the Saudis. But at the same time, it's difficult because I sort of like the Ice Queen.
Really?
I think about her. She's given me that opinion that when she smiles, it's like if when she smiles, a puppy dies. I have to compare the Mac Disabled to Cruella de Vil, Chris. Yes.
Anyone else had a football team? The Ice Queen.
The director of football at Newcastle. She looks like the Ice Queen. She is terrifying.
Wow. I mean, that's a first for the Volley.
What's that?
Chris giving his expert analysis on comparisons to Disney characters. Brilliant.
Hey, the first Volley, and not the last, either, no doubt. Right, we've got some more people in the chat. So we are going to we got a conversation going on here, Mags, as well about St. Maximum back and forth. I've also got some thoughts. We're going to drop in and out of this one because obviously we're talking about Ralph Agnew at the same time. Thoughts on Ralph wanting to cancel the Carabao Cup?
Yeah, again, it's typical Big Six mentality that things shouldn't apply to them. Yeah, you're successful. Yes, you are battling football on many fronts, but you also have 3 times the squad size as other players, as other teams. You could easily delve into the under 21s and the youth to fill that Carabao Cup, and you take away big games for the smaller clubs who need those cup runs, who need those big games.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a very self-centered mindset from people like Ralph and from other managers of his ilk that want to kind of take away that revenue stream from smaller clubs.
This is it, and as Dan Griffin goes on to say here, it's total HS because they're not in it. So why does he give a fuck?
Yeah, exactly.
And then, of course, Tanner saying that Liverpool could be on St. Maximum as a 4th sub. AFCON time starter.
Yeah, I mean, I get the fascination with bringing St. Maximum to a huge club. I just don't know if that kind of talisman way he plays translates to a club not being built around him. I think if he's in the Liverpool setup and as talented as he is, they are not going to say, right, we're changing how we play to fit around St. Maximum. He would have to fit into that system, and I don't know if we get that from him. But he may well do. He may well thrive in that situation. But for me, it looks like he does best when the team is built around supplying him with the ball and allowing him to have these kind of mazy runs. And I don't know if he would get that at the likes of Liverpool, at the likes of City.
This is very much the case, of course. We'll have to see what happens, of course, in January. I can't see him going before the end of the season, in my opinion, if he does leave. So, I don't think Newcastle can afford to let him go right now.
No. Their biggest signing of this window will be pinning him down to a long-term contract.
For sure. Build the team around him. We've said this all season long. Build a team around him. Dan Griffin saying, I'd rather have Newcastle in the Premier League than Fulham flitting up and down between divisions. Yes. That is... So certain teams would bounce back ability is a thing. West Brom do it all the time, of course. Norwich do it all the time. Fulham seem to spend their way up and then spend their way down again, which is funny.
I mean, out of that relegation fodder that we've got now, I think Norwich are all done but the shouting. I think out of the bottom three, Newcastle probably got the best kind of route to getting out of there if they spend heavily in January, and then bias shows that I want Burnley out. So you'd be then looking at Watford, who I think are going to get dragged down. Their form has been absolutely horrific over the last 5 games or so. I've got a feeling Leeds are going to get dragged into it because it just seems that Bielsa ball has been found out. And if they don't, it will be because of the likes of Meslier and because of the likes of Calvin Phillips. Everton, they are desperately needing a goal scorer. I think if DCL is back soon, they may kind of drag their way out. But I honestly can see Brentford and Southampton being dragged down into this mire.
I can, on the subject of Newcastle building a squad around him, what about DCL ending up at Newcastle? I could see them offering him a big contract, lots of money, and he could play alongside St. Maximum. That's a tasty strike force, and he needs a fresh start, in my opinion.
Interesting. Everton are always a kind of team that shoot themselves in the foot, that they don't like selling the players. They just don't like parting with them, or they overprice them so that nobody's going to come in for them. So maybe that'll be the case. I can't see Everton wanting to part with Dominic. He's been the only goal scorer they've had for the last 18 months. But Newcastle have a hell of a lot of money, and I'm sure they'll be willing to overpay for some of the signings they get. Will DCL be enough of a high name target for him? Perhaps not. I think maybe they'll be looking at more kind of superstar names, but we'll see.
Indeed. Obviously, we can wait to look about how bad Man United performance was. Let's not forget that Lindelof had COVID, of course. So the president of the Victor Lindelof Appreciation Society, which is, of course, our own Simon Powell, was obviously happy he wasn't playing, so he wasn't at fault for the goal, of course. I've got to say, in the chat, Graham in the chat is saying, won't watch Saudi events, but will support a Saudi-funded football team. I think you'll find, sir, what I said was that I want to like the new owners because who could be worse than Mike Ashley? But at the same time,
you've been found out, Matthew.
How can you? But at the same time, Amanda Staley is the focal point, and the last time I checked, she wasn't involved at that level of the Saudi government. So I have concerns.
That's a reach. That is a reach.
That is a bit of a reach on that side of things. Although maybe that's where the Blake. No, never mind. Okay, we're moving on from that anyway. Of course. Let's hope that things work themselves out. We want to talk about football, not about politics. Regarding Newcastle, we don't want to talk about politics. Dan Griffin, regarding the EFL Cup, think Milton Keynes beat Man United. That cup magic is a thing. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. In my ears,
it means the world. Yeah, it means the world.
In my ears, still ringing, is Martin Tyler screaming, never underestimate the power of the FA Cup.
Yep.
Same thing for EFL Cup. Look at Bradford a couple of years ago. I mean, they're going to beat people left, right, and centre for sure. Obviously, Man City won it for like 4 or 5 years in a row, but obviously out of course this year, so we're guaranteed a new winner this year, which will be Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham, or Chelsea. Four of the top 6. I'm in the. To be fair though, which of those clubs you got in mind, Mag? Which one do you think they'll win it? 2 legs, of course.
Yeah. Let's have a look. Who's
it's Liverpool, Arsenal, and Tottenham, Chelsea.
I mean, how do you look past Liverpool? They've been superb.
Well, my brother says that he's confident they're going to beat us.
Oh, confident that Arsenal are going to beat you?
Mm-hmm. Because they'll put out their first team, which is their kids anyway.
I mean, that's a huge four anyway. I mean, 4 of the now top 6. So either way, we're going to get a great final. But I see Liverpool and Chelsea getting to the final.
Now you've said that, may of course be a North London derby.
I mean,
That'd
could you
be
go
good
wrong
anyway.
with it? Could you go wrong with it?
There's money in that for sure. This is what when Carabao took the rights out. This is the sort of games they wanted in the final for sure.
Mhm.
So credit to the sponsors for that side of things. The Cup Magic is a thing for sure. Dan Griffin saying Everton's spending the last 5 years has been abysmal. No, sir, quite the opposite. In fact, it's been sensational, just abysmally placed. There's been a sensational amount of money. Just abysmally.
I mean, they got James Rodriguez for nothing. That was a great signing. Didn't make use of it. They've got Damari Gray for pennies, an absolutely outstanding signing, and then they go and spend on the likes of a Warby, who was gash. So yeah, I agree with him. I think that Everton are bad with money. They are really, really bad with money. And then, like I said, the issue they have is they don't sell their players at the right time. They try and keep hold of them, or they want so much money from them that they price the players out of the market and end up losing them and the players end up leaving for nothing. Yeah, they are woeful with money.
Yeah, exactly. But so hopefully, Man made I think like 600 million in 5 years, which is more than Chelsea, I think.
It's a hell of a lot of money. A hell of a lot.
Indeed. Graham in the chat from Google Backup saying, "Is that the sound of clutching at straws I hear?" No. Moving on to Dan Griffin again. I was
and that's the end of it.
Exactly. I have control. I was there when Liverpool lost the Carabao to City on penalty. Call it a tertiary cup all you want. It was heartbreaking. I was gutted that day as well. I was absolutely gutted because it was a really good game of football as well. Dan Griffin saying Helen Rodriguez was a great free for 4 months. Tops overpaid on utter shite for far too long under Moshiri, and long may it continue, says the Liverpool fan.
I mean that whole season when they brought in Alan, Decore, and James Rodriguez, that should have been the kind of like turning point for Everton, but it just didn't happen. And I think that also the season they picked up Ben Godfrey as well from Norwich.
Yeah.
So they spent a ton of money that year, and didn't really do a lot with it, and that's the issue, that they didn't capitalize on the players that they had. And I think around then, didn't they also have a Kane as well?
Michael King, yeah.
No, Moise Keane. I think they
got Moise Keane, yeah, sorry.
Who should have been an absolute world beater. But yeah, they just struggled to capitalize on the quality of players that they had, and then yeah, it's all gone to shit. And now they've got a lineup that includes Rondon, who is unfit. It's got they've got Townsend back in. Yeah, it's just not good at all.
Dan Griffin clearly had too many sherries. Ben Godfrey is okay. Former York City player too. Dan, seriously, mate, go to bed. Go to bed. Seriously, I think you're enough for that sort of things. Generally think you've had enough. Oh God, he's cute again. Big Pope again, almost former York City.
York City is the hotbed of English football.
Apparently so. Graham from Google Bag was saying they're nearly as bad with their money as Matt is near a bet. Fred. Fair enough. Dan Griffin saying York City the puppet master of the Premier League. Yes. So yeah, Newcastle promising today. Promising if they can play like this more often, they'll go down respectfully at least. Man United need to really sort themselves out quickly here, especially if Martial.
Well, not that quickly. Maybe take a game or so to kind of.
Man, I'm trying to be an unbiased journalist here. And unbiased, but with my non-red Liverpool tinted glasses on, we actually have to say Man United need to sort it out quickly, or they're going to lose touch with that top four quickly. Because they need Champions League football. They can't keep going into Europa League or even worse, Europa Conference. They can't afford to be doing that because United are massively in debt themselves. They need Champions League money. For sure. Dan Griffin in the chat again saying, thank you guys for humouring me. Always, sir. Always a pleasure.
You are
Never
more
a
than
chore.
welcome.
Indeed. So, Meg, we've rounded up all of the Premier League games
We
that
have.
happened so far since Christmas. So the question I have for you, and sir, is, and please in the chat as well, do let us know as well, who has been your player of Christmas?
That's a tough one. I mean, it's hard to look past Sterling. Like I said, he's ending Christmas on a massive high with 4 goals in 4 games. Really kind of back to the form that made him one of the elite players. But I want to say Emile Smith-Rowe. Because I think he has really kind of stepped into the role that was left when Aubameyang became a dickhead and kind of left Arsenal in the lurch. He has really kind of proved that he's the next big number 10 for Arsenal, getting amongst the goals, really kind of dictating the play for Arsenal. So I think I'm going to go with Emile Smith-Rowe.
It's a very, very, very wise pick, sir. Smith-Rowe has been phenomenal this season, obviously, for Arsenal. I think there have been many people you could have chosen there, and I'm actually going to go for Saka because he had a fantastic game against Norwich. He's been doing it. He has put the disappointment of the Euros final behind him, and he has bounced back. Similar to how Beckham did after the World Cup in '98, he has put that behind him, and he has just gone. And he has shone even brighter than he did in the Euros. He has been a revelation. He already was beforehand, but it's all good. Again, Dan Griffin in the chat is fully in agreement with you, Megs. Smith-Rowe for him saves his FPL team.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I don't know what to say better than that, really. We've obviously got more games coming up tomorrow and Thursday, and then of course there's more games over the New Year period. This is of course the last appearance on the Volley from me for 3 weeks. I'll be back. I will be back. Hopefully, I'll be back in the chair on the 16th of January. It all depends on whether or not I get back from jet lag.
You have been an absolute star over this last 18 months. So you go and enjoy your time away in that there America.
I intend to have a really good time. Of course, don't forget, of course, before I go, of course, don't forget to follow us on the channel at Radio Tekkers and down the bottom there, obviously follow the show at Volley Live. Of course, don't forget, of course, your lordship, would you mind telling everybody where they can get in touch with you, of course?
Here, come to this on the Twitters at PodFatherMags, where I'm all over the airwaves in terms of content, covering football, wrestling, UFC, and everything in between. You can find links to all my content on my Twitter, and I'm a massive part here at Radio Tekkers, but also over on the Chair Shot and at Visionaries Global Media. So wherever you source your podcast, you can hear my dulcet tones.
Indeed, he's a big deal. He's our Mags. He is a big deal. Yeah, and obviously check me out at Matt UK. Thank you to everybody again for supporting the Christmas Hacker Project. Thank you to everybody who contributed to that. And thank you again to everybody for the last 12 months making me such a welcome member of the Tekkers family. It has been an absolute pleasure, and I can't wait to be back in the new year. One last quick plug, of course, don't forget to check out, if you didn't get a chance to check out earlier, go back in the archives and check out Mags and Si on Chain Wrestling, because it was, as always, kablam. As always.
Brilliant.
It was, as always, kablam. So, yeah, that's it from a Volley for 2021. We look forward to seeing you again in 2022. I will leave the Volley in Mags' dedicated hands for a couple of weeks. I am brave, maybe the case, but I trust you, sir. On behalf of myself and Mags, Happy New Year, buddy. We're out of here.
Bye-bye.